Today's session, let us see the practical implementation of the list, and followed by in the tomorrow session we can learn about the set. So now in which places like we can use the list. So whenever like we use the list, so the size will be grown automatically. So that is what I told. Okay. So now I'm planning to like retrieve the table value. So let's say, let us open the Wikipedia page. So we have already automated the scenario, right? So we know like how to retrieve the values. So I'm planning to retrieve the column 1 values, and I'm planning to retrieve the column 2 values, and post retrieving the values, I'm just going to verify whether the respective value is present inside the list or not. And how I am going to do this? Like by converting it as an reusable file. Okay, so just I'm going to convert it as an reusable file. And how we are going to convert it as an reusable file? So we know like we have already like refactor our project based upon the page object model. Okay, so now I'm going to add a new scenario. Okay, so let it be like kind of an wiki dot okay feature. So whenever like we are creating the feature file, so you should like use the keyword called as a feature, and then we need to specify the purpose of this particular file. What is the purpose of this particular file? So now I'm just creating purpose, like let it be like wiki page automation. So in which like we are going to validate the mapping of column 1 and 2. Okay, so just we are going to like validate the mapping of the column 1 and the column 2. Okay, let me just add the given statement. So user extracts the column 1 value. Okay, so then or else like we can use the when statement, because like we are using one more user action. We can say user extracts the column 2 value, and finally so then validates the mapping. Okay, so now whenever like we are adding the new scenario, obviously like we need to create a step definition file. So let me just open the step definition file and let me create a new step definition file. So what is the step definition file which I'm going to create? So let it be like kind of an wiki steps. So as I told, whenever we are creating the new step definition file, so always ends with the keyword called as an steps. Okay, now we need to do the mapping. So how we are going to do the mapping? So because with the help of an annotation. Okay, so now if you notice, whenever I add a new file, it is throwing me something. So some dialog box is appearing, add file to the git. Okay, and as of now, I'm canceling it. Why I'm getting this pop-up? If you notice, like in the last session, like we have committed this code in the GitHub repo. Okay, and if you notice, it is pointing to the branch called as an main, and I'm modifying the code. So whenever like we are adding the new file, it is asking us whether I need to add the new file in the GitHub repo or not. So as of now, like I'm not adding the file, so we can review that and we can add the file in the later part. Okay, so now I'm just creating the class for it, and in similar way, like we are going to use the respective annotation. Like I'm using the given statement. Like with the help of the given statement, with the help of the given annotation, like we are mapping the given statement, and whenever like you're doing the mapping, like you should create a immediate method. Okay, so
Yeah.
let me just give the variable name as an column 1, and if there is any error in the given statement, like you should hover over the mouse and you need to click on the import statement. In similar
Arvind,
way, yeah.
Arvind, sorry to interrupt. So whenever we are coding, right, fresh when from the GitHub,
Hmm.
so we should only code in our local copy, right? Can we directly uh, update the main copy that is on the
We should
GitHub.
not update it for time being, like I am just updating directly in the main. I will explain the
Okay.
process in the next session, in the tomorrow session, how what is the
Okay.
actual process. So we
Okay.
should not like add any code in the main, but I am maintaining the main repository. I'm going to commit everything straight away in the main branch, but in the real time we should create our own sub branches. I will explain the process in the next session. So now for this when statement, I'm just creating the step definition, and in similar way for the then statement I am just creating the step definition. Okay, so now this is done, but how we are going to pass the knowledge of the driver? So whenever we execute this given statement, it will call the class called as an wiki step. But we have discussed in the previous session, we have seen a multiple example, like we are going to like control, or we are going to pass the information to the other class with the heart called as an test context. Okay, so we need to set the test context. And how we can set the test context? So initially, like we need to do the constructor call. So whenever this class called as an wiki step is called, it will check whether the constructor is present or not. So that's the reason, like I'm just creating the constructor called as an public wiki step. So the rule for the constructor is like, as I told, like we should create same that of the class name. Now we are injecting the test context, the knowledge of the text context to this particular constructor. Okay, so it is throwing me the error. Let me see. If it throw the error, just click on the import statement, because it, whatever the package we have stored, it will be import from the respective package. Now this context is acting as a local variable. So we need to pass the context knowledge to this entire class. So in order to do so, I'm creating the like global variable called as an okay test context, and I'm just giving the same variable name. And if we need to access this global data, like what is the keyword we need to use? So we should use the this keyword, and with the help of the this keyword, I'm just accessing the global context, and to the global context I'm setting the knowledge of the local context. Okay, so this is the first step we need to do. So now this call will happen. Obviously, like it is going to call the page object manager. So only in the page object manager we are maintaining the separate methods, and with the help of the methods, like we are calling the appropriate page objects. So the next thing is like we need to create a page object. So now I'm navigating to the main Java, and then I'm selecting the page object, in which like let me just add a new page object. Okay, let it be like kind of an wiki page. Okay, and then I'm clicking on the enter, and we need to call this wiki page. Where we need to call? So if you notice, like if I add the new file, it is throwing the pop-up. So as of now, like I'm just going to cancel it. Whenever I say cancel, we are going to manually add the file. Okay, I have cancelled it. So now inside which, like I'm creating the constructor. So why I'm creating the constructor? Because this class should accept the knowledge of the driver, which we are going to get from the manager class. So that's the reason I'm just creating the okay class where I'm going to get the constructor knowledge, where I'm going to get the driver knowledge. So that's the reason, like I'm specifying the local content called as a web driver. And whenever there is an error, hover over the mouse and click on the import statement. Okay, we have created the constructor same that of the class name. So now we need to assign this local driver knowledge to this particular class. Then what we need to do? So we need to create one more okay global variable called as an web driver and then driver. Okay, so now this is a global variable. How we can assign the knowledge to the global variable? With the help of the this keyword. So now I can say, so this dot driver is equal to okay driver. Okay, so we have created this structure. Now we need to call this class. Where we need to call the class? Obviously, like in the manager, in the page object manager, I'm navigating to the page object manager, and I'm creating the class for it. Like let it be like public void Okay, get wiki page. Okay, I'm just creating the method called as an get wiki page. Now inside which I'm going to create the object for the wiki page. So how you will be creating an object? Wiki page, we will be giving a variable name is equal to new of wiki page. So now this is done. Okay, it is throwing the error because like we need to pass the knowledge of the driver because it's have a constructor. So whenever object is created, the constructor call will happen. So in the constructor we are having one parameter, so it is expecting us to pass the value for the respective parameter. So what is the value we are passing? We are injecting the knowledge of the driver. Okay, now this is done. So now we need to set this as an like global variable. So rather than setting as an local, so we should set it as an global. So I'm just making it as an global variable. As we will be using in the multiple places, I'm setting the access modifier. So public wiki page, and at the end I'm just adding the semicolon and I'm assigning the value to this variable in the line number 40. Okay, so now this is done. Okay, now we need to handle the things. So where we need to handle? Obviously like in the page object. So as a first thing, I'm creating the method. Let's say public void, okay, get column 1 values. Okay, we are going to get the column 1 values. In similar way, like I'm going to add a new method called as an get column 2 values. Okay, so in our old framework, like we have already written the logic for it. So what we need to do? So initially like we need to identify the like who is the parent of the particular table. So let me just do it once again for you. Let me right click and inspect. Okay, so let me just identify the parent node. So this is going to act as the parent node. I'm going to fix the parent node. So now let it be like double slash of table. Okay, at class is equal to in a single slash I'm just writing over here. Okay, so now this is done. So now pose that like we need to traverse to the structure. I'm directly jumping to the tr tag. If I directly need to jump to the tr tag, what is the keyword we will be using? So obviously like we will be using the descendant keyword. Okay, I'm just using the descendant keyword, descendant of tr. Okay, now inside the tr we have already analyzed the structure. So the column 1 values will be always stored in the tag called as an th. So I can say so single slash of child colon colon, okay, th. Now we are having total of an 21 values. So we need to retrieve this 21 values and we need to store it in a list and we need to return the list. So now I'm just copying this, okay, and I'm writing my coding like driver dot, okay, find element by dot, okay. So we are using the XPath syntax, right? So XPath I'm writing over here. Now we need to retrieve the all values. So whenever we need to retrieve the all values, so then what we need to do? We are going to do some repetitive action. So whenever the repetitive action comes into the picture, we are using the concept of the loop. So let me just automate this scenario with the traditional loop, and in tomorrow's session let me alter this with the for each loop. Okay, so what is the traditional loop? So I'm just creating the loop for int, okay, I is equal to 0, okay, and then we need to set the condition I less than, we need to know the number of values, but this find elements will always find all matching elements, right? So I'm using the method called as an find elements, okay, and I'm getting the all matching node. How we can get the all matching node? So with the help of the method called as an size. Okay, now the size will return the numerical value, right? I will store it in the numerical. Let it be like, okay, column, okay, 1 size is equal to something. So now I can pass the column 1 size. We have set the condition, then we have added the increment operator, and we are going to retrieve the values. How we can retrieve the values? We will be using the same line of code, okay, but instead of the size method we will be using the get method. Why we are using the get method? Because, Okay, we are going to pass the int text. So with the help of the get method, I'm passing the int text, and under each and every int text, I'm just getting the string value. Okay, the value present in the particular line. How we can get with the help of the method called as an get text. Now we are getting the text. Now whenever we get the text, we need to store the text. So where we are going to store the text? So here comes the collection concept. So let us initially like store it in the list. Now here I'm going to create one list. Okay, so let me use the interface called as a list, and we are going to store a string value, and I'm specifying the type called as a string, and I am just giving the variable name as an column 1. Okay, values is equal to new of array list, because we need to implement with the help of the array list, and I'm setting the type. So at the end of the line, I'm just adding the semicolon, and I'm hovering over the mouse and clicking on the import statement. Okay, now this is done. Okay, so now we need to add the values, because initially it is acting as an empty list. So empty list in the sense, okay, it doesn't have any values. Now we need to store some values. So each and every run we need to add the value. So how we can add the value? Like with the help of an add method. So what is the variable name of the list, which we call it as an column 1 values? So now I can say column 1 values dot, okay, like there is a method called as an add. With the help of the add method, we can add the respective string value. So now in this line we are getting the string, right? So I'm just storing in a data type called as an string. Val is equal to something, and we can pass the value over here. So during each and every run, okay, new value is retrieved, and new values are keep on adding inside the list. So whenever like we are using the list, what happened? So whenever the new value is added, the size will grow automatically. Okay, it will keep on adding the new values. So now we are having the complete column one values. At the end of the loop, we will be having the complete values inside the list. Now we will be using this list for the validation. Okay, so the validation will be done in the step definition. So we need to return the list. So how we will be returning the knowledge? So we have discussed multiple times. We will be using the like return keyword. So now this time we are going to return the list. Then what will be the return type? So the return type will be obviously like kind of an list. Okay, if you are returning the integer, the return type will be integer. If you are returning the WebDriver, the return type will be WebDriver. If you are returning the list, so the return type will be list. Okay, in similar way, I am going to write the logic. So preferably like it is going to be the same logic, right? So I'm just copying the same line of code, but what is the difference? Like we need to modify. So the difference is like we need to modify the syntax. Okay, so initially like, we have used the th tag. It has 21 values. Now I'm changing this td value. But if I say the td, what happened? It is giving me like kind of an 24 values. Okay, then we need to ignore the first two inputs. So because we need to like start mapping, we need to compare like whether the trade name is mapped to the Infosys, we need to ignore the first two inputs, so that like the size will be remain same. How we can ignore? So it is very pretty simple. Now inside this, instead of this th, I am just giving the td. So wherever the th is present, I am making it as an td, and I'm controlling in the loop. Okay, I am changing the initialized value to the 2. Okay, which we have already discussed. Now let it be like kind of an, okay, column 2 values, and here also let me update the variable name to the column 2 values, and I can return the column 2 values. And whenever we are returning, okay, so the return type will be get changed. Okay, so now we are able to get the column 1 values, and we are able to get the column 2 values. Okay,
Initializing you need to change.
which one?
Initializing, like in first column,
Int.
first one.
Yeah, yeah, that is fine. Even though like it is going to add as a local variable, right? We can just give this column 2 size, and we can update over here. Okay. So now it is all good. So we are able to retrieve the values and we are able to store the value. So this logic should be in the page object. Okay. So now we need to call this page object. Wherever required, we need to call this page object. Now let me just go to this wiki page. Here we are extracted the column one values, right? Okay. So how we can call the column one values? Like I can say context dot, okay, page object manager, because we're accessing the page object manager, and inside the page object manager we need to access this wiki page. Okay, we should use this method called as a get wiki page. Whenever like we are using this method called as a get wiki page, it is having the return type. Okay, actually we should return the class, but if you see, like if I give the dot, it is not giving anything. So the reason is like because we haven't added the return statement in this method. Now if I just do the control click, it will be navigating over here. We need to add the return statement. We need to return the entire class. Okay, I'm just adding the return of wiki page. Now the return statement will be changed to the class. So one and only if the return statement is present, okay, we can access the respective methods which is present in the class. Now if I say dot, I am able to like check this values. So I'm able to get this methods called as and get column 2 values and get the column 1 values. If I need to like get the column 1 values, I can just get the column 1 values. Okay, now obviously like this is going to return the list, right? Okay, if I hover over the mouse, the return type is going to list. Okay, with the help of the loops, so we can like print all the values. But generally, right, we will be doing the validation, so even we don't need to write this given statement and when statement. We can directly we can do the validation in the then statement. So as per our scenario, what we are going to do. So for example, in my user story, okay, I need to verify whether the company type is public. Now here, why I have specifically used the list, because the list will store in the same order, which means like it will store the trade name first and the formally second and company type as the third. So which means what will be the index value? So 0 1 2. In the second index the company type is present, and in the similar way in the second index of the column 2 the public will be present. Now as per my user story, they have added this new field. I need to verify whether this new field is present or not. So now how we can verify? With the help of the index, right? So now rather than like extracting the values, I'm just skipping the given and when part. Okay, I'm just going to directly focus upon the assertion. Now, I like here in a real time, the validation will be like, so we need to check whether the mapping is correct. So whether that company type is mapped to the public or this industry is mapped to the information technology. So why I have specifically used the list in the sense, because it will store in a index order. Okay, because if you try to use the set, right, it will store in a random order pair. Then we can't pick the respective values from the column, because there won't be a proper mapping because the random order pair is maintained. So that's the reason I have stored in the list. Now I'm planning to do the assertion. Okay, I'm planning to validate. So whenever we are planning to validate, we'll be using the assert statement. I can say like assert dot, okay, assert equals. Okay, so with the help of an assert equals, we are going to compare the like actual result with the expected result. Okay, so now we need to specify the expected result. So I'm just specifying the expected result. So the first thing, I'm just going to verify whether the trade is present. So where the trade is present, obviously the trade will be present in the which index. So it will be present in the 0 1 2 3. Okay, or else like if you are planning to validate the company type, let's stick with the company type. I'm just going to check whether the company type is present. So 0 1 2, it will be present in the second index. Now we need to get the actual result. So how we can retrieve the result? So with the help of the context class, I'm accessing the page object manager, and with the help of the page object manager, like I'm accessing this get wiki page method, and with the help of it, like I'm just getting the column one values, and This column one values will give me the entire list, but we have discussed like inside the list we can access the specific value with the help of the get method. And if I say dot, okay, it will give the get method. Okay, and we can specify the intents. Okay, so when we use this piece of line, what it happen? It is going to like return the output called as an company type. Now what I can do, I can use the same line, okay, in my coding, which means like I can set it as an actual result. So by this way, what we are doing, so we are just verifying. So whether in the column one, okay, whether the value called as a company type is present. In similar way, like in the column two, if you are planning to do any validation, then obviously like we will be using the asset statement and we will be using the asset equals method, and this time I'm planning to verify whether the public is present. So that I should give the expected result, let it be of an public. And how we can give the actual result? So generally we are getting the actual result. So this method, so the page object class has the method called as an get column to values. This is going to return the column to values. Then how I can access this method? So with the help of the contents. So I can straight away I can set the contents. I can say contents dot, okay, page object manager dot, okay, I can just use the method called as an get wiki page, and inside which I'm accessing the method called as an get column to values. And as it is returning the list, we can use the get method, and with the help of the get method we can pass the intents, and we can say like get of 2. Okay, so when it is a get of 2, it is going to like return the value called as in public, and we can just verify whether the asset statement are mapping. Okay, or in other hand, like if you are unsure like in which index it is getting stored, then what we can do? So then we can use the for each loop, and inside the loop we can set the conditions, and with the help of the conditions like we can validate. So I will tell you like how we can do, and before that let us try to execute this particular scenario, and let's check whether it is working as expected or not. Now I am adding the tag called as an, okay, wiki 01. I'm just copying the tag and I'm placing the tag in the runner file. Okay, so now I have placed the tag in the runner file, and as a second thing what we need to do, so we need to update the URL. Okay, so which is nothing but the environment. So the URL used for the testing, we call it as a test environment. We need to update the test environment. I'm just updating the test environment. And how I'm going to run? I'm going to run with the help of the runner file. I'm right clicking on it and I'm just using the runner file. So now if I run this file, it should navigate to the wiki page, and obviously the method should retrieve the values and it should store in the list, and it is returning the list. From the returned list we are using the intents, we are accessing the specific value, and we are using the specific value in the assertions. So the assert statement will compare like whether the actual result is equal to the expected result. So whenever the results are equal, it is going to pass the text. Else, if whenever there is a mismatch, so then like it will fail, and we will be throwing the exception called as an JUnit comparison exception. So now you could see it is retrieving the values, etc. At the meantime, like it may have extra to the column one values and column two values. Now you could see like it has passed the then statement as well, because for sure, okay, in this particular line it is going to like return the entire list, and in the list we are getting the intents, we are passing the intents. With the help of the intents we are getting the respective value, and we have used in the asset statement. But in some cases if you are unaware like in which intents it is not present, then what we can do, so we can use the like for each loop. Okay, so I'm just using the for each loop. So inside the for each loop, okay, as per for each loop syntax, what we need to do, so we need to pass the entire list. Okay, we are passing the list as an input. So now if we pass this list as an input, what will be the output? So the output will be obviously like string. So I can say like string, and I can say some variable called as an k, and whenever I print the k, so when I say like this is out of k, okay, it is going to like print all the values, okay, because like during each and every run it is going to pick one by one value, and it will work on the hash nest principle. If new value is present next to it, the loop will be keep on iterating, it will be printing all the values. Now let's see, like let me just try to run and let's check whether it is printing all the values. So if you are able to print all the values, then what we can do, we can set the condition, and with the help of the condition we can verify whether the specific value is present inside or not. Okay, so now let the execution start and let's check whether it is printing the value or not. If the all values are printed, then we can set some condition, and inside the condition, like we can set some assertion, and with the help of an assertion we can do the validation. Okay, so now this is done. Okay, now let me just verify the console over here. Now you could see it has retrieved the values called as a train name, formally, etc. So how we have retrieved? With the help of the concept called as an for each loop. Okay, so now if I need to do the validation, what I can do? I can set a condition. Inside the loop, we can set a condition. I'm just setting like if, okay, I'm just going to verify, okay, during each and every run, it will retrieve one by one values, right? So what will be the expected result? So as per your scenario, you may have some expected result. I can say if k equals to, so what is the expected result? So I am planning to search, okay, whether headquarter is present. Okay, so it will check whether the headquarter is present. If the headquarter is present, it will step into this particular block. Okay, so whenever like it is step into this particular block, then what we can say, we can say we are able to find the value. So then we can add one assert statement, and what is the assert statement we are going to use here is like we can say, okay, assert dot, okay, assert true. Okay, so why I am using this assert dot assert true? So the reason is like because if it is step into the particular block, so which means like the boolean condition is true. So I am manually setting the boolean condition to the true to for an verification, because assert true will always like set the condition as an assert true. Okay, either we can do in this way, or else what we can do, so we can create some global variable. So let's say, okay, I'm just creating a global variable boolean. I'm just giving the variable name as a flag. Initially I'm setting the boolean value as in false. Now if it step into this if block, if it step into this if block, I'm making this flag to true. Okay, I'm just making this flag to true. Okay, so we are making the flag to true. So now what we can do, so we can use the assert statement, okay, outside of the loop. Okay, now I can say like assert dot assert true, okay, and I'm checking the flag condition. Okay, so whenever it has step into the particular block, right, obviously the value will be altered to true. So then assert true will always expect the boolean value as true, then our scenario will be get passed. So if it is more confusing, then what we can do, like let me just add the breakpoints over here. Okay, and let me just run in a debugger mode. Okay, so if you run in the debugger mode, like we can see like what it is happening. Okay, so now the browser invocation will occurs, and it will retrieve all the column one values, and with the help of the loops we are retrieving, like we are reading one by one, we are just reading all the values. So whatever the value which is stored in the list, we are reading each and every value, and then we have set one condition. Okay, and with the help of the condition we are doing one more validation. So whenever it is retrieving one by one value, we are checking whether it is equal to headquarters or not. If it is equal to headquarters, so we are asking it to step into the block, and we are asking to change the flag value. So now the flag value will be changed to true. So whenever the flag value changed to true, So what it indicates? Okay, so it indicates, okay, obviously, right, it is working as expected. Now if you could see, like initially the condition is false because it is pausing the train name, but whenever we run the loop, so it will keep on like giving the new values, because each and every run it will be extracting the new value. Okay, so now this time at one particular point, okay, it will be able to recognize the keyword called as an like headquarters. Okay, so if it is able to find the headquarters, now here the condition is satisfied and it will step into the loop. Okay, and it will change initially the flag value as false. Okay, because we have set the flag value as false, but now we are altering the flag value. Now the flag value will be changed to true. Okay, now you could see the flag value will be changed to true, but still, okay, if you notice, the loop is running, still it is checking for the condition, because the hashness the principle doesn't fail, so it will recompare like all the values once again. Okay, so whatever the remaining values over there, it will recompare over there. But if you don't want to like check for the other condition, then if you need to terminate it, then you can add a break statement and you can terminate it. Now if you notice, so the flag value is passing as true. This assert true will always expect the true and it will pass the test case. And if you are unable to find the value, the flag value will be remains false, and here if it pass the flag value called as an false, then it will fail the test case. So generally this assert true will accept true as an boolean value. So this assert true will always accept the true as an boolean value. So one and only if it is of an true, it will pass the test case, and if it is of an false, it will fail the test case. And if you want to terminate this loop, then what you can do, so once stepping into this if block, we can add a keyword called as an break, which means it will break the execution, because we have found the respected output. Okay, so then why we want to keep running the loop? So we can add a break statement, and with the help of the break statement we can add it up. And there may be another case. So as the list store the duplicate values, so by mistake, like if the headquarter is present as the two place, if you plan to validate the duplication as well, then you can add the duplication logic over here. So likewise, depends upon our need, we will be keep on integrating all the logics. Okay, so all the validation logic should be present in the step definition file, and only the handling part. So handling part in the sense, like whatever the field which is available in the UI, so we need to handle, so all the handling mechanism should be available in the page object, and we are accessing those page object and we are retrieving, and depends upon our need we are doing the validations. Okay, so now I have done n number of things, right? So now whatever the things I have done, as we have accessing the branch called as a main, whatever the file I have added or deleted or changed, everything will be captured in the GitHub desktop. So if I open the GitHub desktop, okay, here you could see, okay, so it is having the file called as an wiki page. Okay, which means this is the new file which I'm added, so that is the reason it is showing in green color. Now here you could see it is showing the file called as a page object manager, and this is a existing file where I have did a modification, and those modification will be highlighting in the green color. In similar way, in the framework property, initially this is was the URL, but I'm changing the URL. So whatever the existing value is there, if we try to change the existing value, so it will be highlighting all the change. And even in the feature run, I have updated the tag, right? So it will be changing the tag. And in similar way, like this is a new file which I have created, yes, this is available. So the new feature file which I have created, yes, which is available. So it will be highlighting, okay, everything. Okay, so all the changes will be highlighting over there. If you need to ignore any one of the file, for example, in the git ignore, the many spaces are added. If I need to ignore this file, I can right click and I can discard this file. If I click on the discard, so the changes which we have done will be ignored. Okay, so now we need to do the self review. So self review in the sense, whatever the coding you have done, everything is captured here. You can review the changes you have done, and if your everything is okay, then you can commit the code. Okay, and if you notice, like this is the new class file which I have created. If I navigate over to the new class file, okay, everywhere it will says it's new, or else like it says nothing is present. But if I open the other steps, okay, here, okay, so the name will be present. Here you could see it is printing the name called as a learn more training, because it is already available in the repo. So whoever has committed the code, okay, so their GitHub ID name will be populating over there. So by this way, okay, we will get to know who has created this method. Okay, so whenever like someone commit the method, so everywhere their name will be present. But in the latest one, so no name is present. So the reason is like still this code is available locally, so we haven't committed the code. So if it is already committed code, then it will displaying the name who has committed the code. Okay, so those details will be captured over here. By this way, like we will get to know like who has done this coding. Okay, so now I'm good with the coding. Okay, so I have done the self review. If I need to commit all my changes, okay, select all the file. Okay, and whenever you are adding new things, so we should add the commit. Okay, let's say I'm just adding the, okay, code for table handling. Okay, and then where I'm going to commit, I'm going to commit to the main branch. So the reason is like as of now we are pointing to the main branch, but in the real time we should not commit any changes to the main branch, and we will be following some review and approval process. So that is what we are going to discuss tomorrow. Now, as I'm controlling this main branch, I'm just adding commit to the main. Now what happened, whatever the code which is available locally, which will be added over there. Okay, so now I need to click on this push origin. When I click push origin, the push indicates you are adding new code to the repo. So now my code will be added, my new code will be added in the repository called as an LMTA 7 a.m. June 2024. And if you have already cloned the code, so there is an option called as an fetch origin. If you click on the fetch origin, so whatever the new changes which is available in the repo will be cloned to your system. Okay, so this is how like we will be committing the code to the repo. But even this is not an actual commit, so we need to create our own branch. I will explain like what is meant by branch and what is the process we are going to follow in the tomorrow session. Okay, so now you can able to access this particular coding as well. Okay, so this is how like we will be following the automation. Like we will be doing the test design, followed by we need to create the step definition. Okay, and then we are pausing the knowledge of the context, and we may create the page object, and inside the page object like you will be having the logic like to retrieve the values. And once you are retrieving the values, we are returning these values. Why we are returning the value in the sense, because we may use it for an validation, because at the end we need to do the validation. Okay, here as we are returning the list, so either we can retrieve the value based upon the index, or else you can use the loops. With the help of the loops, you can iterate all the values, and inside the loops you can set one condition, and you can compare whether it is equal to the expected output. Whatever the thing which you are trying to validate, you can give your expected result over here. And we are setting up the flag. So initially we have set the flag boolean flag as in false. Okay, so now what happened, so if the condition is true, the flag value will be changed, and we are validating the flag. How we are validating the flag value, in the sense with the help of an asset true. So how the asset equals method compares to string, in similar way this asset true method will accept true as an input. One and only if the input is true, it will pass. In case if the input is false, it will fail. So likewise we can add it up. And if you need to break, so after finding this respective corresponding value, if you need to break the loop, then we can add the break statement. Okay, which means like after finding, after stepping into this particular block, after changing the boolean value, it will break it up. Or else like if you are planning to do some duplication, like then duplication validation, you can add the respective logic over here. So likewise we will be keep on adding the logic, and we will be doing the validations. And why I have stored in the list in the sense so that like it will maintain an order pair. So whatever the order which is maintaining over here in the same order, so the values will be listed up and we can use the same, we can retrieve with the help of the index. That is the reason I have stored the over here. In tomorrow's session we will be learning like some concept called as a key to value pair. So generally this kind of validation can be easily achieved with the help of the key to value pair relationship. So by this way we will be validating the mapping. But as of now what we are doing, so like even we are doing the mapping, we are validated the mapping, but we have validated the mapping in with the help of two asset statements. Because in the first asset statement I am just checking whether in the index the company type is present, in the second column I'm checking whether the public is present. But when we use this key to value pair relation, so we can like validate the key to value pair in a single asset statement, like which we can discuss tomorrow. Okay. So now till this point, does anyone have any doubts?